hope you're all having a really good existence. I'm going to try and teach myself to look bare, which is really strange because my peripheral vision can kind of see my face moving, and especially when there's more than one of us at the front, we're used to looking at our reflection to talk to each other. You could totally see the facial expressions are so obviously mine or not mine or both, and it's amazing to catch micro expressions, especially watching back and seeing that you can see both people responding, and it's really helpful. Uh, so it weirds me out, and I feel a little bit more uncertain of what's going on with us if I'm not watching our face move back. But I'm going to try it anyway and see how this goes. Now, I think this counts as a fusion update, but we'll see. It's a general vent to see where I'm at as well. So I'm going to start with a bit of context. I have actually got massive trauma around my dog's health, both of them, and my dog's safety. And it's still one of the hardest things to not go into flashbacks and distress whenever there's any risk or fear of anything bad happening to them. Um, this has been kind of built on in a few instances that were just unfortunate, unlucky, other people being irresponsible. Um, just general daily life things. Having a spaniel, which, oh my god, they're so intelligent. Her common sense is so strange. You learn to compensate, but like she'll just jump straight over fucking things and into things and like zigzag into walls and shit. I was like, Jesus, I'm gonna go grey. So fuck. But it started it started in a very significant period of our lives when we were 16, which is always weird to say because I've been 16 since. A lot of parts of me have, to be honest. I think it's primarily held in the host part of me, I think. Because, like, I had a weird response to trauma. Like, I was protected from it for a number of years, but, stuff just kept happening and kept happening. It was kind of impossible to avoid, to the point where, like, in this system, there's not a lot of us that don't hold some part of trauma or another. I don't think there's anyone completely unaffected by the symptoms. So there was just this series of like cosmic fuck ups and terribly timed events when we were 16 that started with us being in a life threatening and situation of, I guess, domestic abuse is what it would be, manipulation, Machiavellian sort of like fucked up shit with the sperm donor who does not deserve the title of male parental figure. About coming back when we were like 15 or something. And then through the age of 16, we left that situation, which involved tricking him out of the house and running away from home. Then moving from place to place through the pure generosity and good luck of the friends that we happen to know who were willing to look out for us and keep us at their place, avoiding online and making sure that we couldn't be traceable because he'd once employed a private detective when we were young, so we were avoiding the sort of situation that he could just find out where we were. So a lot of moving around. And then some months later, we were in Sheffield with a bunch of friends, and our health issues had gotten so fucking bad at the time that like I could barely move in the mornings. I could like barely wake up. I think I'd just been burnt out. I think I'd just been. We already had health issues by then. I think we were diagnosed with chronic fatigue already. We had like some weird fucking cognitive symptoms. No idea what was going on. No idea about the trauma. and that was just like the fucking nuclear event that just set everything in motion for just like the catalyst, I guess, for health issues getting way worse and all of this shit. So around that time, I was walking him, trying to walk him every day, and so some days I fucking couldn't. He was about 8 months, I think. Then he was nearly a year, or around that age. Jez, this is. We didn't have Bramble yet, and a friend offered to take him for a walk, and I was very reluctant because I already had this like I think born of trauma belief that if I wasn't the only person controlling things and looking out for things 100% of the time, something bad would happen. I also had OCD telling me that, like, if I let somebody else take care of my puppy, even for a minute, it would be like telling the universe that I didn't want him, and the universe would take him away from me. Uh, they were like really held strong core beliefs that I wasn't cognitively aware of at the time, but just felt like the truth. So I was very reluctant, but they insisted, and I was like, okay. I didn't think to give any instructions, any like we're working on recall, keep on lead, keep away from roads sort of thing. I don't know, and I don't know why, but they also didn't think of this, and they let him out. I think at the edge of a road by a park, and he just ran straight into a road, and they just opened the door and let him run. I didn't know about any of how it had happened or anything until they got back to the house. And I remember just like seeing him being carried in. Blood was dripping from his nose, and his tail did like one big heavy thump to see me. And I remember just dropping to my knees and being like, I don't know, something just seemed to switch off then. And then I remember like flashes of memories, like going upstairs and going, I've got an emergency vet card number I know taped to something, so I just like ripped it off. We got him in the car. There was probably me just in shock, repeating like "you're a good boy" or something like that, and crying over him in the back seat. Lots of noticing blood on my hand and not knowing what it was from. Just thinking that he was like definitely gone, and there was nothing we could do. And we like, I remember that car ride took so fucking long, and I felt so fucking helpless. And it's like reality wasn't even there. And we got to the vet and took him in, and then I don't know how long, like a few hours of us waiting there, and then being told they had to keep him overnight. So we went back, and I couldn't sleep. Um, their dog came up and literally cuddled me, like sat with his arms around me, just lying there for hours. I think I managed an hour of sleep maybe. And we got called to pick him up in the morning. He'd survived, he'd made it, he was okay. And it was so weird because it was like the relief sort of on one level hit me, and sort of on another level never did. And it's like I still feel a bit like I'm waiting to see if he's gonna make it or not. Like some part of that, just that poised sort of tension of having to look around and do everything I can, and ultimately knowing that a lot of it isn't in my control, feels like it never really stopped. I'm still so hyper vigilant of like, just because fucking Labrador as well, so he eats everything he can find. I've considered muzzle training him just so he can't, but I like him to be able to use his mouth and catch things on the walk and stuff. So he's got a really solid leave queue, but I gotta be quick and I gotta see the food, and like every thing that he just picks up on the ground that I have to get him to drop, and it's like for a second I'm back in the car, and it's just like this thing inside me just fucking jumps, and it's really hard to stop the flashbacks to that. And then there's been subsequent events with other dogs, and with ours, and things that haven't been as close to call. Um, just one dog I was very attached to, who I was working with, who didn't make it, who had an accident, and I feel like I still haven't grieved for that, but it's like it all kind of builds. So now it's really hard to just relax and be present and enjoy my dogs being around and being safe. Like, it's really hard to believe that they are. I'm so torn between, like, I feel a lot of things about the fact that it happened, but at the time there was so much shit that was just happening to us. It was like, bad shit just happens, and that is just life. And there was like not really any thoughts other than that of the level of jurisdiction that fucking anyone had over it. And since then I've gone through a lot of thoughts of like, people just don't think about things and people make errors, and I didn't give specific instruction. And on the other side, I feel like anytime I've had anyone else's dog to watch, I've always kept them on lead or asked how their recall is, and like not let them anywhere near roads. So I'd say there's some heartbreak and some resentment in there, and a lot of why, and also a lot of understanding that people don't think about things until it happens. And ultimately, I don't know how much it matters, like, whose responsibility was what, because it still happened, and nothing fucking changes that from here. All I can really do is keep working through and processing the trauma, and like working every day to remind myself that he did make it, and he is alive, and he is right in front of me, and we've done a great, awesome fucking job keeping them safe for years and healthy. But it's quick to trigger. It's never really far away. Sort of makes me feel a bit detached. Like, it's a lot of effort to stay present and attached in a lot of ways, as fully as I can. And I mean, it's always been a bit like that with people as well, but up until then I was able to be like fully relaxed and attached to him. And when that happened, it's like it just cut something, some level of safety I hadn't considered. I think that the second something bad happened to any of my dogs, that might have been what happened, because of prolonged fucking attachment trauma anyway. But so now a lot of the time is just spent like working to keep all parts of me present, remind myself of where I am, ground to the present, to the body, try and observe and feel the responses of that night, but here in the present, so that I can process it and let it move through. And a hell of a lot of like noticing the differences in any situation where it's triggered. It's slow work. It was a very influential time in my life. We were in a really suggestible and already traumatized state when it happened. He was really like our last connection that we really fully attached to and trusted. So when we thought we were going to lose him, I think something inside us just switched off. It's taking, now it's like the default position is off. It's not like it's off all the time, but it's like I have to constantly hold the lever and it wants to just switch off at everything for every attachment all the time. I think it's improving a little day by day. So there's horrifying trauma-born context. I go to a different video to explain why I'm giving context.